Hello and welcome to the podcast on negotiation. And today we have a very special guest, a negotiation expert, advisor, teacher, professor, a prolific author of how many books, Keld?
27 with the newest one.
27 books. And this is exactly one of the reasons why we wanted to have a chat again today. The new book called The Smart Negotiator. Keld, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
So, Keld, let's start. Let's start with the reasons. As why Smart Negotiator? Was there not enough books on negotiation out there in the market? Did you have to have the 27th one? Was it a bet? How did you come up with an idea to write this one?
Well, Remy, let's start off by offending a lot of people. I don't really think there is a need for another book on negotiation, to be quite honest. I was actually saying that out loud 2 years ago. I published a book in 2023. I published one in 2024. And I thought, I'm done. I mean, the world don't need another negotiation book. I was just counting last year at least. I saw 15 books being published here in the US on the topic of negotiation. And you know what, Remy? There's so many great books out there. So the problem is not really access to content about negotiation. The problem is people are not using what is already out there. And to be quite honest, and here comes the offending part, a lot of the books that are being published these days is just a repeat of something that has been said already. So I'm often wondering, why do people keep writing books on negotiation if they have nothing original to say, myself included? So there was a long answer to your question. The reason that I did one anyway was because my publisher Wiley came to me and said, you know what, something called AI is out now, and why don't we do one on AI and negotiation? And I was actually thinking they got a point, because AI is going to be, as we're going to talk about today, I hope, is going to be the biggest revolution to negotiation we've seen in many, 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 many years. To me, it's basically what electricity was to humankind. Negotiation will be that to negotiators. So we need to start focusing on how to use that. So anyway, long answer to your question, Remy, that was the reason I did the book.
So it wasn't a bet. It was just the publisher asking for for number 27.
I don't think they counted the number especially, and at the same time, just to make it really fun, LinkedIn came to me and said, do you want to do a LinkedIn learning course on AI? And I was thinking, hey, I can kill two birds with one stone right now, doing the online training and then publish a book at the same time. So I saved a little bit of development time by doing both at the same time. So anybody who's interested, by the way, and had a paid LinkedIn profile, they can go and take that course for free.
It's called, what is it called, Keld, once again?
That's a good question. It's a LinkedIn learning course. Just LinkedIn learning, search my name or AI, and it will pop up.
And then you guys will find it. All right. Yes. It's on AI and negotiation. And so if you guys don't want to read about the Smart Negotiator or don't want to listen to this podcast, you can always find Keld on the learning LinkedIn learning classes. Just search for his name. So you spoke about revolutions. Revolutions usually are visible looking backwards. So let's start with the evolution. The evolution of negotiation over time. I have not finished reading your book, but I've started already, and that's exactly at the very beginning, sort of a historical perspective on how negotiation has evolved over time. So if you could you share, maybe in a nutshell, could you share maybe a rough outline of this evolution, main stages of evolution?
Sure. What I often saying, and I might be offending somebody again now, is that I don't.
Are we here in offending business?
I don't want to do it on purpose, but some people get offended when I say stuff. One thing I want to raise as a topic is I don't really think negotiation has evolved that much since 1776. I repeat that, 1776. That's many, many years ago. And what happened in 1776? Well, Adam Smith, the famous Scottish philosopher, came out and wrote the book, The Wealth of Nations, where he is one of the first ones that are talking about how should nations do trade with each other, how should companies do business with each other. And that book, by the way, is still considered the Bible of the capitalistic system. So if you're studying economics at a high level today, you are actually still required to read that book. And I think there's a couple of problems with that book, Remy. One of them is that it's just between you and I. It's slightly boring. It's not that
Very
exciting. There's
boring.
not a lot, yes, very boring. There's not a lot of graphics in it, and it's heavy reading. The other problem with that book, and here comes the offending part, is that I think it's absolutely wrong in all its conclusions. Because it's basically preaching that you should do in any collaboration what is good for yourself and only yourself. And I think that is completely the wrong approach. And people before me, way brighter than me, have actually been out criticizing this philosophy. And one of them is the famous Dr. Nash. He's so famous that Hollywood decided to produce a movie about him, played by Russell Crowe. And Dr. Nash said, before he was a doctor, all the way back in the 60s, said that Adam Smith was wrong, because the best result will come if you do what's good for yourself and the group. That's the only way we can all win. So I'm saying this because if we look at how negotiation has evolved, basically since 1776 and until the late 70s and 80s, nothing happened. We were just negotiating out of pure behavior or reflexes or what have you. And then in the late 70s and 80s, the first books started to come to the market that really describe a framework on how we could perceive negotiation. But I think we can all agree that it takes eternity for people to make changes in their behavior and their habits. So even though, for instance, the most famous of the ones coming out in 1983, I think it was, Getting to Yes, that we probably all know, I often say that that book was a complete failure. It was actually a great book, but it failed its purpose, because I meet hundreds of people every year who got that book on the shelf, have read it several times, but they're still negotiating completely positional negotiation behavior. They haven't changed their behavior at all.
But is it fault of the book, or is it the fault
No,
of those
no,
who read it?
it's not the fault of the book. What I often say, Remy, is that you can't learn to swim by reading a book. And what I mean by that is you have people reading your new book and Getting to Yes and my books, and nothing happens. They just go out there and do as usual. So it's not enough. You need to do more than just reading a book. A book is inspiration to do something else. And that takes me, actually, again, I'm sorry about these long answers, but that takes me to another question. That is, do people actually get trained in negotiation? The recent study here in the US actually showed that 55% of professional contract managers has never received any formal training in negotiation. And they're negotiating professionally every single day. Do you know what? I was not sleeping that night when I read that, because this is an example, and we see it over and over again, people who professionally are negotiating, but has never received any formal training. To me, that's a nightmare. So back to how has negotiation evolved? Well, it hasn't really evolved. And then suddenly it started evolving. And now we're here with AI, where we have the opportunity to really make some progress. But it still requires, whether you're talking AI or not, that you receive training in negotiation. So a good question to all the audience right here is, when was the last time you actually received professional negotiation training? Funny story, Remy, I had a guy who came to me a couple of months ago and said, I completely agree with you. Negotiation training is evident. It's required. It's really important. I had a great negotiation course 18 years ago. I still remember the highlights of that one. And I was just thinking, oh my God, we have clients that actually repeat training every single year for the same group of people, for the same department, just to make sure that they're on top of things, because negotiation evolves. I did my first book in 1998. And I reread that about a year ago, and my God, it sucked. It was a horrible book. And really, I was thinking, my God, I'm embarrassed this book is out there with my name on. But then I realized in 1998, hopefully it wasn't that bad. But it just shows you that the perception of negotiation, what negotiation is and what we should do and shouldn't do, has actually developed since 1998 till today. So it's a different world today, obviously, than it was in 1998. So anyway, I don't even know if I answered your question right now. I just start talking about stuff, but I mean, it's really important that we focus.
Let me maybe try to recap. Negotiation hasn't changed much since Adam Smith.
Right.
Although he was completely wrong, but now we have an opportunity to get it right.
Yes.
Despite all the great books that have been written and published in between, because of the great technology that is emerging. Or has emerged, and that's artificial intelligence. So now let's focus on the last. Is that more or less what you would subscribe to in terms of a historical recap?
I think, and then on top of that, I would say we have to focus on people being unconsciously incompetent. I was there myself. I got into the world of negotiation. I was in tech industry, and I was heading a public company in Stockholm. And I thought I was a great negotiator, Remy. And then my former partner came to me, and in less than 2 hours, he moved me from being unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent. I suddenly realized I was a dreadful negotiator. And of course, there's a lot of great negotiators out there I meet every year, but a lot of people actually don't know what they don't know. So I think one of my points with the new book and everything I'm doing is really raising the awareness how important negotiation is for humankind. How much value we can create and how many opportunities and value that we lose by not focusing on that skill. So that goes for all of us. That's your responsibility as well, Remy. It's my responsibility. It's everybody in the negotiation community to tell the world how important this is. Just look at the state of the world right now. A lot of the chaos we're in is because of bad negotiators.
That is, unfortunately, that is correct. We live in an era of unprecedented frequency and intensity of conflict. Right, wherever we look, left and right. Instead of learning our lessons in negotiation and managing conflict, it seems that we insist on making the same mistakes over and over again.
Just look at the US right now, government shutdown. Why? Because they can't figure out to negotiate. So it's a little bit like a 5-year-old kid being offended, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to my room right now. Is that solving a problem? Not really. And I mean, while they're doing that, millions of people are not getting paid. And I just read it costs $1 billion per week. There's a government shutdown in the US. And the point is,
So Keld, now AI is entering the stage. How can it help us become better negotiators?
Well, first and foremost, it's giving us an amazing toolbox that we never had before. It can save us so much time. It can improve our preparation. It can improve our data collection. I'm a big fan of data in negotiation. I am what I call a commercial negotiator. So if we just talk about negotiation, we have price negotiators and hostage negotiators and commercial negotiators and mediators and what have you. I'm a commercial negotiator. There's a big difference between a hostage negotiator and a commercial negotiator, because why do organizations negotiate? Well, they negotiate to create and distribute value. End of story. That's the only two reasons two commercial organizations ever sat down to negotiate: to create and distribute value. Sometimes they only think they're distributing value, but in reality, they should create value as well. So I'm a big fan of data and numbers, because that is telling whether we are successful or not. Otherwise, we can't really claim whether we created progress or not. And AI is for the first time able to support us in gathering data, handling data, and work with a lot more knowledge than ever before. The reason, very briefly, let's just take a step back, Remy. The reason that I created the book on how to utilize AI in negotiation is actually a huge study I did together with World Commerce and Contracting. And it was a study where we ran hundreds of simulations globally, where we had groups of 2 people negotiating with another group of 2 people. And we compared 3 different kinds of negotiations. One, old school negotiation without the use of AI. One negotiation was where one side was using AI and the counterpart were not using AI. And the third negotiation simulation was where both sides were embracing and utilizing AI. And then we compared these 3 negotiations on preparation, on utilization of value, and on collaboration, trust, openness, transparency, and all of that. And without any exception, the 2 teams using AI outperformed both other negotiations, not only slightly, but hugely. I mean, the difference was, I was blown away. The value created when both sides were using AI was almost 100%. Transparency, openness, collaboration went through the roof, and the level of being prepared well for negotiation was incredible as well. So when we've done that study, I was just sitting left in a room thinking, negotiating without the use of AI is incredibly stupidity for us as human beings, because it was such an efficient tool. And it really helped both parties gathering so much more value and improving negotiation all the way around. Now, and the last thing I said, which actually still surprised me today, Remy, is that why did transparency, honesty, openness, and relationship, why did that improve? Because AI was infused on both sides. I can actually answer that, because We don't have the data to support why, so I can only guess. But it was really intriguing to see that enormous difference in negotiation outcome.
That's amazing. Could you, Keld? I was as I was listening to you, I was thinking, using AI can have various degrees of intensity, yes, from using it as an assistant system to using or deploying it as an autonomous agent. In
Yeah.
your study, what exactly do you mean under using AI?
They used it as an assistant, so it was supporting them as negotiator. It was not running the negotiation. I compare their use of AI as you would use an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
Or you would use a PowerPoint, or you would use Word, or you would use a calculator. So it was a tool to support you as a human being in negotiation. And that's why I am right now. I'm a big fan of AI, but I don't think that we are there where we can talk about serious professional autonomous negotiation. I've seen a few tools out there who claim to be autonomous negotiations, and I don't think it's negotiation at all. I'm being approached by companies, especially in the Bay Area, that want to show me, look, we got the greatest autonomous negotiation tool. And I haven't seen anything yet that kind of impressed me. It's basically an advanced contract management system at its best. Or there's a big company who has been working with Walmart and others. I'm not going to mention any names. And they claim that Walmart have improved their purchasing pricing by 1.5% from suppliers. Maybe true. But I know it's a complete zero-sum positional negotiation where Walmart gained their 1.5% at the expense of the supplier. So it's not a negotiation tool, it's a price reduction tool. Anyway, back to your question. I don't think we're at a point where I've seen any tools or AI that can do the job autonomously. But as a negotiator, not using AI today as a supporting tool is unintelligent. I actually use the phrase all the time in my keynotes right now, Remy, that negotiators using AI will replace negotiators not using AI. That's a promise, because that's a fact. And it's going to happen 2 minutes from now. Do you know what? I'm doing quite a lot of keynotes, and I'm always now in my keynotes asking the audience, how many of you are using AI professionally in your negotiation? I mean, not looking up a recipe or where should I go in Berlin on my summer vacation, but professionally. And you know what? I did a recent one with 600 people in the audience, and this was a typical reaction I get. About 10 people raised their hand and said, I use AI professionally in negotiation. And that actually scares me. And I'm looking at my watch thinking, yes, it is 2025, and AI has been around for several years already. But there's so many professionals out there that do not realize that they have to do it. And I think a lot of people are struggling with how they should do it. The organization don't have a strategy on what they should do and how they should do it. And even though I even meet organizations that have a policy saying we can't use it. I'm a professor at Aalborg University in Denmark, Remy, and I do a master class there once a year. And obviously I've implemented AI into the students' training. And obviously I requested them to use it and use it during the exam as well. And I have to get my exam approved by the faculty. So I sent in my exam where the students were required to use AI. My proposal for the exam got rejected because the faculty said, no, the students are not allowed to use AI in their exam. And I was just thinking, again, looking at my watch, thinking 2025. Yes, we are in 2025. So, I mean, if you have universities at this point in the day of age who are saying, no, we cannot let the students use AI, well, there we are. You know, we have some progress to make here.
Oh, definitely. There are many schools out there that are already a little bit further than that. I can assure you, Keld, that not only do I actively encourage my students to use AI, but we also launched a tool to support negotiation
Right.
education with AI.
Wonderful.
Because I share your belief that it's much easier to learn when we have an always available negotiation partner. It's much easier to assess skills if we have frameworks and structures that can do it independent of human biases, and so on and so on. I was wondering, Keld, what is your prediction? Do you think these assistant systems will be active or passive? Meaning, will they Will they make their suggestions? Hey, listen, you should do this, this, and that, and then do this, this, and that, and sort of guiding through the process? Or would you put the human negotiator in the driving seat and say, okay, this is the tool. If you like a hammer, as if you use it, you have to do it. You have to do it actively, because hammer is not gonna slam the nail on its own. Yeah. How
Yeah.
do you see this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think both really. Already now, if you set up a negotiation agent in any whatever LLM platform you're using, you can request that to be proactive or reactive. You can ask it to
True.
bring out proposals and ideas for you that could help you a lot. And I'm doing that myself, by the way, already. And I think that let me just add one thing. Great question, Remy. Let me add one thing, and that is this kind of warning, because I do meet people now that think that AI is a replacement of being an educated negotiator. It is not. You need the platform to understand what's going on before you start using AI. Otherwise, you cannot filter the information coming from the AI bot that you're using. And as we all know, AI can be absolutely wrong. It can come up with proposals that are just unintelligent. So it's still a requirement that you know what you're doing before you start using AI. I'm just saying that because I think some people out there think that AI is a shortcut. Hey, now I don't need to know anything about negotiation. I can just use AI. That's not the case. But back to your question, trying to answer that. I think it's both. I think you can use it however you want to use it. I use it actually in real life negotiation with clients right now, where it's proactive, where I ask it based on uploaded documents, proposals, IFPs, email correspondence, whatever, to be proactive and guide me and giving me new ideas to questions I should ask, variables that should be brought into the negotiations, value that could be created, and what have you. And I think it's doing a wonderful job. It's often bringing up new ideas that I didn't think about.
Okay, so you're thinking about a more proactive, right? I mean, because there are completely different prerequisites for one and the other type of usage, right? I mean, for the reactive, to use it as a hammer, yes, you have to know how to use the hammer, yes. So you have to know how to negotiate to use it as a support system.
Sure.
But the more proactive approach of an AI agent has also the drawback that it reduces the need to brush up the competency itself for the
Sure.
negotiators. Yes.
Sure.
So how do you see the balance? How do you see the split between these two types of these two use cases? Proactive, reactive. Does it depend maybe on the situation? Does it depend maybe on negotiators' proficiency and skill in the negotiation skill? Hey, have you had any thoughts on that maybe in the past?
I think it's a great question, Remy. And I think all of the above. You basically just said it right there. I think it's depending on the skills, the background, the environment, the organization, the counterpart. I would also say it's also depending on whether both sides are using AI. Now, one of the questions I'm getting a lot is that should we reveal to the counterpart we're using AI? To me, it's obvious we should use AI. I mean, would you go to a counterpart and say, we actually use Excel spreadsheet to prepare our numbers? Would you say that to a counterpart? Obviously not. Why would you in 2025 have to announce that you're using AI? Again, back to what I said, not using AI is incredible stupidity. I would even suggest the counterpart, if they're not thinking about using AI, that they should start using it before we have a meeting on Thursday next week, because I know they will be better prepared if they're doing it. So I would say, to answer your question, I would say it depends. It all depends. I mean, that's a wonderful way of answering anything. It depends. It depends on where you are in your cycle, where you are in your level of understanding AI, and where your organization and what negotiation you might be in, and depending on the professional level of the negotiators involved.
And probably also on the legislation in the region, right? Because
Right.
in Europe, we unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, right? We have to reveal. We have to.
Yeah.
So
Right.
companies using AI, they must inform their clients or customers that they are doing so in their
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah.
It's,
We're not suffering from that here in the US, right?
right. Yes, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the impact of AI on NegoEconomics. Yes, that's your notion that you introduced quite a while
Right.
ago.
Right.
And I think one of one of the difficulties with it, I think, for individuals without any intelligent support, any intelligent tools, is its complexity. Yes, it's complexity. So why don't you maybe share with our viewers and listeners how using AI could help us? I usually call it engineer value
Sure.
under the NegoEconomics framework.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Just before I'm doing that, I have a small competition, Remy. We actually have a couple of our viewers, how many that we pick that comes up with a bright idea that can win a free copy of this book, regardless where you are in the book, in the world, we'll send you a book. All you have to do on the LinkedIn platform, all you have to do is write what you see AI will do to negotiation in the next couple of years. And we will pick the one that comes up with the funniest or the most original or the best proposal to where you see AI will take negotiation. I don't think I can answer that question, so there's no right or wrong answer. I don't know if anybody can answer the question where AI will take negotiation in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but I would love to see some really creative, original proposals out there. It doesn't have to be a whole report. It could be 2, 3, 4 sentences, that's all. And then we'll pick a couple of winners in a few days. So those who are not watching live, but those who are watching the recorded version can participate as well. So anyway,
love it. Keld, let me repeat it. Guys, if you're hearing us, if you're listening to us out there, please write in the comments how you envision the impact of AI on negotiation in the future. Yes, and the funniest, the most insightful, the most dreadful comment that Keld will choose will receive his new book, and it's a very good book. I'm not through completely yet. I started reading only a few days ago. But it's a great book, and you guys will learn a lot how to become a competent negotiator with the help of AI, something that we'll discuss in a few more minutes. But let's come back to our question, Keld.
Sure.
Stage is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Remy. It's a great question because I think, back to commercial negotiations, we have to find and identify value. I mean, 2 + 2 creates more than 4 in most commercial negotiations. If we are in a positional negotiation, if I want to make $100, you have to pay for it. If you want to make $100, I have to pay for it. So my progress will only happen at your expense. I'm a fan of a different approach, a very collaborative approach that I didn't invent. That was invented 30, 40, 50 years ago, where we look at collaboration in a very different viewpoint. Now, back to my commercial approach to negotiation. I think we are there to create value for each other and make the pie bigger. I often start a negotiation, a real life negotiation, by telling the counterpart, listen, Remy, we are here today to help you reduce your cost, liability, and risk and help you improve your profit. Would you be interested in us helping you doing that? I can promise you when we say that in reality, the counterpart look very suspicious, but they will say yes, because obviously they want that. And when we got the acknowledgement from the counterpart, then we add by saying, and we do see your role here today is helping us reducing our cost, risk, liability, and helping us improving our profit. Would you be willing to do that? So suddenly it moves from being you against me to a collaborative process. We have to work together to create NegoEconomics. NegoEconomics is a term I coined. It's just short for negotiation economics. And it's actually an award-winning mathematical model that is extremely simple because it's the asymmetric value between your cost and my value, or my cost and your value. Very simple example, cost of capital. Every organization may have different cost of value. You may have a cost of capital that is 3%. I may have a cost of capital that is 5%. Now, the one with the lowest cost of capital should finance the deal. And the difference between the two numbers, in this case 2%, is NegoEconomics. We have more than 380 variables that can generate NegoEconomics. It could be delivery time, warranty, installation, warehousing, service, educate, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. And in a negotiation, we have to be transparent and we have to be honest to identify that asymmetric value. And believe me when I'm telling you, I'm working with some of the biggest organizations in the world, and none of them, and I repeat, none of them are actively using that asymmetric value. Why? Don't know. Because, again, it's not rocket science. It's not really that advanced. It's not that difficult, but it requires a change of mindset what negotiation is and isn't. The good news is AI is here and AI can help us. If you go to ChatGPT, I just mentioned that because that's my go-to thing. But if you go to ChatGPT and write NegoEconomics, thank God it knows everything about Smartnership, NegoEconomics, and myself. So you can just use ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, go through this contract and find variables that can identify NegoEconomics between the two parties. And in 18 seconds or whatever it takes, you will get a complete list of variables in that contract that potentially could generate NegoEconomics. Then I would ask, prepare the questions to the counterpart in order to capitalize that value. Again, it will do all the work for you. And what you should do, just to prep it, is just ask it to be a persona in the world of smartness and economics. That will be me. So just ask ChatGPT to be me, and you get all the help. It's basically like having me in the room. It's just better me in the room than me.
It's just a couple $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, and better. Can I tell you a very embarrassing story? 6-7 months ago.
Only if it insults someone, Keld. Only if
it's actually insulting myself. So I will be happy to share this one because I get questions from clients possibly every week about a certain negotiation. So I'm about to head into this negotiation. What should I do? And just between you and I, Remy, I'm a human being, so I'm slightly lazy. So I typically just write whatever I feel is sufficient and send off that answer, right? So then I thought, let me try AI on myself. So I took the question from the client, uploaded it to AI, removed everything that was confidential, obviously, uploaded it to AI and said, you are now Keld Jensen, answer this question as Keld Jensen. And AI came out and answered that question way better than me, more detailed, more substantial, more background, because AI is not lazy. And just to make this story embarrassing to me, then I took the answer from AI behaving as me, and then I took my answer and I sent it out to 62 people who know me very well and asked them, which of these two answers do you think is from ChatGPT behaving as me? And which of these answers do you think is from me? And 58 out of 62 got it wrong. They thought that the quality answer was mine, where in reality it was ChatGPT, and they thought that the lazier answer was from ChatGPT. So I can tell you already now in 2025, ChatGPT behaving as me is better than me, Remy. So there's no need for me in the future. AI have taken over already.
And that's actually good news, Keld, because you can get ready for your entire retirement, I guess, right?
That's true.
Well, if there are tools which are better than us, the world doesn't need us anymore, which is good, right? We can lay back and relax. What's the temperature like in California today?
It's about 26 degrees Celsius.
There you go. You know what to do. You don't have to teach negotiation courses around the world. You can just go to your backyard, lay down and sip your drink with an umbrella.
So next year when we are doing a podcast together, that podcast will be about something else than negotiation. It will be about what do you do in your spare time, Remy? Now,
exactly. What do you do when you don't teach negotiation? All right, guys. For those of you who have joined us, we have a competition going on. Keld has just asked a question. How do you envision negotiation with AI? The impact of AI on negotiation in the future. We are already getting answers slowly in the chat. Also, an answer like this. Let me maybe show it very briefly. With regards to the competition and the question from Dr. Keld Jensen, it's impossible to answer. And I guess other listeners and viewers are contradicting this statement and are sending us more and more answers. So guys, keep them coming, and let's move on to the next topic that you also address in this book and also in many other books, and that is trust with a dollar sign as instead of an S as a currency in negotiation. So does using AI help us build trust, or does it make our partners more suspicious?
Do you know what? That's another great question, Remy. And if you've asked me, I would say 1.5, 2 years ago, I would have said, I don't think trust will be improved through the use of technology. But I've changed my mind based on the study I just talked about 10 minutes ago. Because based on that study, as I said, where we had two parties negotiating with the use of AI, when we measured transparency, honesty, collaboration, and openness, it was way, way higher in that negotiation than in the traditional old school negotiation where nobody was using AI, and even compared to negotiations where only one side was using AI. So I actually had a comment from a student lately saying, it's actually funny, but it seems based on your study that AI will help us be more trusting. And I'm actually leaning in on that and thinking that might be the case. And I would love to give you the answer. I mean, why? But I can't. I actually don't know why AI make those parties. And we repeated this study 300 times. I don't know why it made those parties in that negotiation becoming more trusting and trustworthy. But it was absolutely solid evidence that we saw that trust just increased. My guess, and I'm guessing it's very subjective, is that people were way better prepared. And when people are better prepared, they become more comfortable. And when they become more comfortable, they might want to share more. I think you would agree with me on this one, Remy. It's safe for people to say no, right? If you are insecure in a negotiation, you just say no. But the second you're confident and feel comfortable, you may not say no anymore because you have the time and you have the surplus of energy to ask questions and be more open and sharing and doing stuff like that. Now, again, as I said, it's a guess because I can't prove it, but that is my assumption that's why we saw trust increase.
So, did the parties know that their counterparts were using AI in those
Yes,
settings? And
yes,
did they know
yes.
when they were not?
Yes. It was obvious to everybody that the counterpart in this case is using AI. We are not, or both parties are using it, or nobody's using it. So that was obvious to everybody.
Okay, and did you also have asymmetric, scientists, did you also have asymmetric cases when one party was using and the other one was not using AI?
Yes. So
And even
so
in
yeah,
those cases, trust improved as well?
no, trust actually declined in those cases. And it's a good question. We saw actually trust decline below negotiation when no one was using AI, when one side was using AI. So they actually came out worse than
Okay.
when no AI was present. But in those cases where both sides were using AI, trust just increased a lot.
So, Keld, if at some point you decide to publish the results of your study, there's a good journal called Negotiation and Conflict Management Research (NCMR). Yes,
Yeah,
put it on your
it
list, and we'll be
right.
delighted to publish in our journal.
Thank you.
So, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanism of trust and the connection of trust to NegoEconomics.
Mm,
And I think it's very important beyond understanding of the mechanism of increased trust in the AI supported settings. Let's talk about the direct result, the direct connection between trust currency and NegoEconomics. If you could share with our listeners and viewers where it kicks in, why is it
mm,
important, and
mm,
why it's such a big deal that trust that AI increases this trust while also improves
mm.
creativity in terms of adding variable and the ability to engineer value.
Right. I think first and foremost, I would say I've been fanatic about trust for many years. I have always felt that where trust is present, more value is being created. Um, I've always felt that if we have a high level of trust in any negotiation, transactional costs will go down and profit will increase. But I had a hard time to put numbers on it. But I actually did my doctorate on negotiation and trust and AI. So we ran another study where we actually tried to capitalize trust. I wanted to make trust a monetary value. And that paper is available as well if anybody want to read something very boring study research, but it's available. And what we actually managed to do, and I was so happy that we managed to do it, is that we managed to capitalize trust in a way where we could clearly see that in negotiation where trust is high, up to 34% more value would be captured compared to negotiation where trust was very low. So I often see people saying, well, trust is a nice thing to have. And I say, no, that's wrong. It's a thing we need to have because it's a monetary value. We can prove that if trust is there, everybody walks away with bigger financial success. And AI, based on our study on the negotiation simulations, where we could see that trust just increased with the use of AI. Again, that's another bullet point why we should start using AI, because we generate more trust. One of the things I actually often tell my clients, and I know this sounds weird to some people, is that we have to put trust on the agenda. So I often recommend that in real life negotiation, we have the introduction and who's who and who got the mandate and why we're here. Then after all of that, we have a topic on the agenda called trust, because we have to talk about trust. And some people are saying, you can't do that. It's almost like a taboo. And I'm saying, but why not? Because I want to be able to talk about trust. So if you and I are negotiating, Remy, I want to be able to allow you to tell me if trust is declining, if you, for whatever reason, don't trust me for whatever I'm doing, regardless what's the reason. And I want to be able to do that as well with you. And if we have talked about the role of engagement, how we should negotiate, then it's suddenly an open topic and we can talk about trust. And we should do it, as I said, because it has a financial impact. And AI seems to be able to help us do just that.
42%. That's I remember reading about it. That's a huge number. Yes, that's a huge.
34%.
34%. That's still doesn't change the fact that's a huge
a lot.
number.
It is a huge number.
Yes, I can only if we I can only imagine what happens if we use it as a factor to multiply the earnings or margins, depending on whether we're looking at sales or procurement.
It's insane. It's insane. That paper is published, by the way. So again, I don't have the name of it right here. I can put it in the comments so people can download that paper.
Oh yes, let's do that. So trust is important. AI seems to be helping us, but this not all glitter is gold, right? So I'm sure there are a lot of risks and potential misuses of AI, or let's say naive uses of AI. Let's talk about those. Right? Because a smart negotiator is certainly not someone who over relies on AI, because that would probably lead to not being smart anymore, or not being a great negotiator anymore. So, Keld, if you could just help us understand the risks and potential misuses of AI in the context of negotiation, I think many users, many of our listeners and viewers would appreciate it.
I think, Remy, you mentioned a little bit earlier that AI represent less biases than human beings. I would almost argue that is not always the case. And the reason for that is that AI got biases as well, both good and bad. One of the things, MIT did a study you probably saw recently where they had a lot of bots negotiating with each other. So it was kind of an autonomous negotiation. And one of the bots was programmed to behave as Chris Voss. I think most of our listeners within the world of negotiation probably know Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator, who has been very successful with his book, Never Split the Difference. Again, I emphasize that he's a hostage negotiator. He's not a commercial negotiator. And the reason I'm saying that is because his approach is a lot of gambits, psychology tools and methods and techniques to persuade the counterpart. I would say to a certain degree, perhaps even unethical. What was interesting is that the MIT study showed that Chris Voss's autonomous negotiation bot was highly inefficient. And I repeat, highly inefficient, because it did not generate trust. It actually reduced trust every time that bot with the Chris Voss behavior was introduced into the negotiation, because the other bots didn't rely and trust that behavior, because it was too strategic, it was too manipulating in its behavior. So what I'm just trying to say is even AI bots refuse to be manipulated and actually have trust built in as well. And I see it because when you try, I've been playing around with AI a lot. And when you try and provoke the AI to be more combative or aggression or zero-sum orientated, a lot of them will actually push back and say, have you actually thought about being more collaborative? Have you actually thought about asking questions instead of aggression? So that's a bias because it's actually trying to be more collaborative. So I'm happy about that, obviously, because it supports my approach into negotiation. But it's just interesting to me when people are saying AI is not biased. It is, crab in, crab out. So AI is based on whatever data it got, and obviously they are biased in the behavior. It's the same thing that people have been arguing. For instance, if you go to an AI system and say, create a picture of a surgeon, in 9.9 out of 10 times, it's a man showing up, right? Why? That's a bias. It's not fair and it's not reasonable. So AI is not fair and reasonable. It carries biases as well. So one of the threats of AI, back to what I said earlier, Remy, is that if we blindly believe everything it tells us, we are in trouble. And that just takes us back to the fact that we have to be a skilled negotiator. Already in the legal world, there have been so many stories where a lazy lawyer just took whatever outcome AI gave him or her and went to court and was just made completely ridiculous because, whatever AI had said, it was 100% wrong. And I think one of the things that I'm warning against in the book as well is that, AI is a people pleaser. They want to please you. So when Remy, if you write in AI, who's the greatest negotiator on earth, they'll probably say, Remy, you are the one, and it's because it's really want to please you and want to give you everything that you ask for. And it could be true, you could be the one, but I'm just saying that when we ask AI about something, we have to pre-program it to be honest and strict and tell us as it is. So every time you ask AI to help you in negotiation, you have to prep it by saying, I don't want you to be nice. I want you to be factual. I want you to tell me the truth, not just please me. Otherwise they will have a tendency just to say, you're beautiful and I love you and you're great and what have you, right? So there's a lot of stuff you need to do. So there's downside as well that you need to prep for how to use AI efficiently.
Keld, but there's bad news as well. You know what it means?
Yeah.
No retirement yet. No retirement yet.
That's so true.
It means that you'll have to keep on teaching. That we'll have to keep on teaching because the only way of becoming and remaining a smart negotiator is by being one, as who uses AI, and not by amending our intelligence with the intelligence that is created artificially. Yes, so this conscious competence seems to be a prerequisite for using AI as a tool in an effective and reliable way. What do you think, Keld?
I absolutely agree. I don't think, as we talked about earlier, we are at a point where we can just talk about autonomous negotiation. I think there has to be a skilled, educated, qualified negotiator behind the tool. What happens in 5 years from now, we can't talk about that right now because I don't think anybody knows. But if you look at the speed of the development of AI right now, it's remarkable. So who knows?
It's crazy. Yes. So one of the things that we're currently working on is negotiation skill assessment done algorithmically by AI. And before I explain our research project, let me shout out to our audience, to our listeners and viewers. I see that we're getting more and more comments on especially on LinkedIn. Guys, if you would like to receive Keld's new book called The Smart Negotiator, please share in your comments. The Smart Negotiator. Share in your comments how you perceive AI will impact negotiation in the future, as positively, negatively, funny and or depressing way. It's all up to you. Keld will go through your comments after our show. Maybe not directly, but to give those who will watch it afterwards a chance to participate as well, and choose the comment or the person that commented it in a way that inspired him the most, and that person will receive his book by email. So let's come back to not email, by mail, I assume,
Mail.
right?
Yeah,
So it will be a paper.
A real paper copy, yes.
Right. So we're moving away from technology and back to the old days of using cellulose paper and like it used to be in the past. So let's talk about skill assessment. Yes, we've been experimenting with assessing human negotiation skills by AI and human experts. What would you say, Keld? Well, let me say it like this. Do you think they would differ? And if yes, in which areas would you see algorithmic assessment based on, of course, artificial intelligence differ from human judgment of those skills?
That's a great question. I hear a lot of people saying, well, the big difference between humans and AI is AI cannot interpret emotions. Wrong. That's not the case. AI can do that actually in lots of cases way better than humans. I had a big fight with my wife a couple of months ago, And, being a great negotiator, I'm not doing that well at home. So I took a break in this fight, whatever it was about. We both have a temper, so it happens once in a while. It's not because we're about to get divorced, but I took a break in this fight, and I went into my office and went to ChatGPT and put in what we talked about and my wife's behavior and reaction, and said, ChatGPT, what should I do? And ChatGPT came up with the best, perfect psychology answer to how to deal with it, and came up with a solution that I didn't see. I took that proposal, went back into that fight that now turned into a negotiation with my wife, and it worked perfectly. And we settled in less than 5 minutes, all based on ChatGPT. There was actually a study coming out in the US recently saying, what is it that the Americans use AI for the most? And do you know what it is, Remy? I was actually surprised. Self-therapy, using it as a replacement of a psychologist at home. So that's the number one use of AI in the US right now. And it's actually doing great. I don't know. We talk about it. We have a job tomorrow. If I was a psychotherapist, I would be nervous because you're being replaced by AI right now. Anyway, that's back to your question. Can we do it? Yes. That's actually one of the things I'm listing in the book is tools that is out there. And I'm not paid by this provider, by the way. There's a tool called Crystal with a C. And Crystal has created a tool that can link to your LinkedIn profile based on the DISC tool. For those of you who don't know DISC, the DISC is a personal trait analytical tool that will put you into a dominant, influential, steadiness, and what have you category. And then it can describe you as a person. Are you proactive, reactive, open, closed, what have you. And it helps actually identifying certain behaviors. It's a widely acknowledged tool. Anyway, Crystal can, for instance, if I use Crystal and I look at your profile on LinkedIn, then Crystal is able to say, Remy is predominantly this, alternatively this. Your approach communication-wise to Remy should be this. And in your negotiations, you want to do the following. And I've been testing this hundreds and hundreds of times. And you know what? It is 95% accurate. It is an amazing tool. So back to what you said, skill, qualify a negotiator. I think AI, and I would love to see your study and research. I'm very, very interested in that, Remy. So please share when you got something. I think we should, not only should we, but we have to qualify negotiators before we send them out there. Because again, some people are not suitable to negotiate. I'm not criticizing them, but they're not good at it and they shouldn't do it. Because if you're not good at something, I'm a horrible tennis player. I will not be a professional tennis player. I'm still trying to do it, but I'm horrible, but I acknowledge I'm not good at it. So I shouldn't be playing professionally. And the same thing goes if you're not a good negotiator. Why on earth are you negotiating on behalf of your organization? And the scary part is, Remy, and that's why your study is so important. I see so many organizations that send out unqualified, unintelligent negotiators every day to negotiate for millions of dollars, and they don't know they're not capable of doing it. So your study is really important.
Yes, and we're currently so basically to reveal we're currently working on it as we speak. The first result is that the differences between the assessments of human experts and the AI are within the 10% range at most, on average, not at most, on average. There are some categories where it's slightly more, some categories which are almost on point, but we've tested quite a few negotiators, recruited quite a few negotiation experts, and realized that maybe in our competitions in the future, at some point, we'll have AI judge those negotiations, because it's almost delivers almost the same results. We don't know yet, and that's the question we're working on as we speak. We don't know yet who predicts a success better. Yes,
right.
But what we notice, Keld, and this is something which is exactly down your alley, we notice that companies struggle, not companies, individuals and companies as well, struggle when it comes to measuring their employees, their negotiators' skill. For some reason, they are very hesitant to put themselves or them under scrutiny. By now, there are tools. We can really easily measure how good people negotiate. Yes, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? We can do it in a very sustainable, very large scale studies, teams of up to 200-300 individuals, and we can compare them, rank them very easily, very easily.
Oh, that's very exciting.
And the problem is only that people don't want to know that they are incompetent. And that's a huge problem, which I see. We also see, which at some point emerges as people believe to be gaining expertise. It's not a problem with students, as we have lots of registrations when it comes to our negotiation competition for students. There's lots of registrations, probably more than we can handle. But when it comes to competition for professionals, which by the way starts next week, yes, when it comes to a competition for professionals, people would only join if they can be the winners. And obviously, the more people, the more participants in a competition, the less of them can win. And that is a humbling experience for many who believe that their reputation, ego, and at the same time, their, how do I say it? How they are perceived by their colleagues would suffer if they don't win. So I don't know what's your experience, but there are not many humble negotiators who are willing to admit, like yourself, that they are not good tennis players. As usually what I usually meet negotiators, especially in executive trainings, I usually meet executives who are the greatest negotiators.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. We often ask in the beginning of the workshop we run with executives. We often ask them in the beginning. They can do a Slido, anonymous. They can do that, putting the name up. And we often ask them, how good are you as a negotiator on a scale from 1 to 10? And it's very rare we have anybody below 8. So they're all really good. And then after 2 or 3 days training, then we repeat the question and say, based on what you know now, if you should rate yourself before we started 2 or 3 days ago, how would you rate yourself back then? And then we typically get between 2 and 4. And it just basic supports what you said right now, Remy. A lot of people think they are way better than in reality they are. Now, I do understand that individuals don't really want to show to the world that they're not very good, but I don't understand organizations why they don't want to know whether the people they send out are actually qualified to negotiate. Because, when we run workshops, we have simulations, always simulations, where we have 2 or 3, 4 simulations running simultaneously, same content, same time, same prep time. And what I always see, is that we get 2, 3, 4 completely different results. And they're only negotiating for an hour, and one negotiation may capitalize $10 million more than the other one, just like reality, because the only difference is the people doing that negotiation. So, I mean, this is a shout out to executive and organizations around the world. Have you actually measured your employees, their capability to negotiate? So I really appreciate what you're doing here, Remy. If you could share anything with me, I would love that, because that's such an important tool. And it's something that I would love help you push out there, because it's something that organizations and governments needs to do. Just look at the world right now. They should probably evaluate the quality of the negotiators around the world right now.
Exactly. Yes. So let's join forces, Keld, on this. Guys, if you're listening to us, and if you're heading a team of negotiators, be it in sales, procurement, politics, diplomacy, are you really sure that they are doing a good job? Can you would you put your hand in the fire for them in terms of their negotiation skills? If you're hesitant while answering this question in your mind, reach out to us. As we can help you benchmark the quality of the negotiation skills within your teams, and it can save you millions of dollars, if not billions, when we stretch it over time. And at the same time, it might make your organizations more effective and our world a better place. My last question, Keld. If you look at if you grab this book, if the publisher asks you again to write a second edition, as let's say in 3-5 years, what do you think you will have to change? What's the Smart Negotiator 2030?
I would love to answer that, but I don't think I can, because I don't know what's going to happen with AI from now until 2030. I was already nervous with this book, because when you are not self-publishing but going through a publisher, I published with Wiley, you hand in your script about 6 months before the book is on the street. So I was actually thinking 6 months in the world of AI is like eternity. So I was even concerned, will reality have passed the book and the predictions in the book? It haven't yet. But the shelf life of this book is hopefully long enough. But a couple of years in this world is a lot. Just look at what have happened since 22, 23 till now on AI. So adding a couple of years onto that, I would be it will be pure guessing game if I told you what I think will happen 2, 3 years from now. But I'm very excited to see the answers coming on LinkedIn right now that we hopefully have some really good descriptions on what people think might happen. So yeah.
So there's going to be definitely a need for a second edition. Yes, it might be a completely different book, Keld, that you'll have to write from scratch. Technology is good usually, as if we know how to use it, right? This has been a modern a motto of mankind and the driver and motor of progress for societies. To wrap it up, guys, if you're listening and watching us, there is a new book in town. It's called The Smart Negotiator, written by Dr. Keld Jensen. And if you would like to get this book for free, delivered to your doorstep, all you need to do is dare a prediction of how AI will influence negotiation in the future. As Keld elegantly avoided answering my question, but you guys cannot. If you want to have the book for free, you can just add your comments under our podcast on LinkedIn. Keld will go through your comments and knock on your door. Probably not personally, but you will receive. If he likes your comment, you will receive his book. Keld, it was a delight to host you on our show. Thank you so much for all your insights. Good luck with the book. Guys, buy it. If you don't get it for free, please buy it. The Smart Negotiator. And be a smart negotiator. So long. Until the next time on the podcast on negotiation. Thank you, Keld.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.